Find a very interesting Gemara in Brachos, Daf Lamed Amid Aleph, the A in Brachos. The Gemara tells the story of Rav Chisda and Rav Sheshes. They were traveling on the road together, and Rav Sheshes was blind. They realized after a short time in the journey, or they came to the understanding that you have to make Tfilas Haderech. And there was a dispute between Rav Chisda and Rav Sheshes. Rav Chisda said, you make the bracha of Tfilas Haderech, you have to stop. You have to stop. Obviously, when you stop, you have more concentration, you're more focused. And Rav Sheshes held you can make this bracha while you're traveling, while you're still moving. In any event, they were traveling along, and suddenly Rav Sheshes, who was blind, sensed something was happening. And he asked what was going on. They told him that Rav Chisda had stopped to make this bracha. So Rav Sheshes said, I'm also going to stop to make this bracha, even though I don't have to. My opinion is that you can make the bracha while you're traveling. But Mios Tov Al Tikra. If you could be good, don't be called bad. Now, this concept of if you could be good, why should be called bad? It's an interesting concept. I once heard the name of Rav Noach Weinberg. They said, you should try to be good, you should do what is good and not what looks good. You should always in life do what's good and not what looks good. So here we find an interesting concept. We're supposed to do what looks good, or in any event, you're supposed to not do what looks bad. Don't do something which will make you look bad, which is an interesting thing in halacha, because in halacha, generally how you look is not the most significant, not the most specific consideration. There's a concept called Morris Ayin, that something looks like you're doing something wrong, but generally we don't give this major halachic weight. So what's going on here in depth, and what can we learn from this about our general path in life? And I believe the idea is as follows: that if somebody is doing something, right? Somebody's acting one way, and you, in their face, act in a different way, even if you believe you're right, but there's a certain lack of sensitivity. Rav Sheshes understood there was a lack of sensitivity in front of Rav Chisda to act opposite from him, especially if there was no reason not to. Right? Even Rav Sheshes understood to stop and make the bracha while you're seated, while you're still, is a better way to make it. Right? The only thing is that Rav Sheshes understood that, generally speaking, why should I cause people effort to have to wait for me? Rav Sheshes was blind. I'm sure that a lot of people helped him often, and he had to be trick people. He had to cause people effort at times. So why should I cause people extra effort and make them wait for me? Can make it while you're traveling. But in this case, everybody was stopped anyway. There was no reason to act differently, and therefore, in front of somebody else, don't act in a way which is contradictory to their behavior, right? Just to make your point, right? Or just because you think you're right, etc. And we see here the great heightened sensitivity that our rabbis had for one another, and that if something there's not a the goal in life is not to be right, and especially in marriage, a lot of couples get married and they think, I'm right, and I'm going to stand up for my what I believe in, and I have to make my opinion clear. And not only in marriage, but it might be in abusers, it might be in a job setting, whatever situation that you're in life. The goal is not to be right. The goal in life is to make other people feel good. Yeah, the true Ben Torah, the true Oved Hashem, is somebody who's always looking for the opportunity to make another person feel good. And the Chazon Ish writes in his letters, he says, my greatest moments, right, my greatest joy comes when someone comes to speak to me and they leave feeling good. Then I think that's a great accomplishment. And the Chazon Ish wrote Svarim on all of the Torah, all sections, all Shisha Sidrin, Mishnah, all Dalet Chelke Shechnar, all of Shas. And yet he said, my greatest moment of joy is when someone leaves me feeling good. And my greatest moment of failure, or of not feeling good, says the Chazon Ish, is when someone leaves me feeling bad. Right? When I hurt somebody and sent him down. And the Chazon Ish writes, the greatest accomplishment a person can have in life is never to be pogei in somebody else. So Rav Sheshes understood that if I would have made the bracha while I'm walking, Tchilas Haderech. While I'm walking in front of Rav Chisda, even though this is my opinion, it lacks a sense of sensitivity. It lacks a certain sense of sensitivity, and that heightened level of sensitivity, right? That's called Mios Tov Al Tikva. Don't do something in front of somebody else which could slight their feelings, which could hurt them, which could cause them some stress. And general, I'll be careful. It doesn't mean that every single opinion you have to be kosher for. You have to. There is such an idea that Rabbi Yeshiv, who was a Yirei Hara, Rabbi Yeshiv from Doug Morrison once told me, Rabbi Yeshiv would not paskin heter unless it was clear that that was really 100% without a doubt, or what we say in halachic terminology, muhrach. There's no room to argue. Right? So that was a relational mahalach. It's a very chosh mahalach, right? But that's a mahalach for people who are very, very great level of sensitivity for Yerushalayim. Right? The halacha here of Mios Tov, the haga, the way of life of Mios Tov, is that if you can do something which is good, if you can do something to make feel someone better in front of this Rav Chisda, to strengthen his opinion, because he doesn't really agree with it, right? He just doesn't necessarily disagree with it. He just generally holds that you can be lenient. In front of Rav Chisda, if you could be stringent and follow his opinion, and there's a benefit in doing that, Mios Tov Al Tikra, right? Why should I do something which hurts someone else's feelings and which people will consider me perhaps to have slighted him and to get a bad name against that? It's something we should consider all throughout the day. Every moment we're in constant interaction with people. Every moment we give somebody chizuk can make them feel better. We can strengthen them. We can strengthen how they feel. If we disagree with them, right? Validate them. Give people validation. Validation, it keeps people alive. Hashem should help us to all have the heightened sensitivity that Rav Sheshet had to understand that when you can make someone else feel good, Mios Tov Al Tikra, everything we should do should be like the Chazon said, to give people joy and satisfaction and happiness, elevation and vibrance, and all the good things in life. We should see them. We should and be able to express them on a constant basis. A man came through it.